Let's jump in. Does God exist? Yeah. And everybody in this room knows it. Whether you're a Christian or an atheist or an agnostic, there's something inside of you that says, yeah, there's a God. There's a God. So my job tonight is not to convince you that there is a God, but actually to help you simply acknowledge that there is a God and why you are suppressing that obvious truth. And I'll tell you up front how I'm going to do that. 3 tasks tonight. Creation, communication, and conscience. Creation, communication, and conscience. You walk downstairs, and you're a teenager, and on the kitchen table, you see alphabet cereal spilled all over the table. And it's a mess. And you probably look at it and think, my little brother made a mess and didn't clean it up. Here's a second scene. You walk downstairs, you're a teenager, and you see the alphabet cereal on the table, but instead, the letters say, take out the garbage, love Mom. Now that's a different type of communication, isn't it? It's a complex, meaningful communication. And that is the difference between Eddie's worldview and mine. He believes that stuff just happened and was guided without any guidance. And I think the intricacy of design clearly shows there had to be a designer. There had to be a designer. Come on, you've got 137 million light-sensitive cells in one little square inch right behind your eye. Lucky? Come on, you wouldn't think take out the garbage, love Mom happened by chance. Why would you think that your eye, which is 1,000,000 times more intricately designed, just happened? DNA, the double helix in the DNA is so complex. Brought a Scrabble game. And there's, a few hundred tiles in here? Now, if I shook this thing up, or if I threw it on the stage and then opened it up, you'd expect maybe a couple of things to happen. You'd expect all the tiles to be on the ground because the law of gravity took over. You'd expect the law of physics to dictate. Most of them are probably going to be lying flat down. But some might be lying up, some might be lying down. And we need to explain why that happened. You might have a couple of words spelled out like or but, or and they're not very complex. And they're certainly not meaningful. Now let's say we had a bunch of letters that were lined up and it said A, B, R, T, C, Y, X, L, J, Q, R. Well, now that's getting a little bit more complex, but it's not very meaningful, is it? Now imagine me throwing this Scrabble game onto the floor and it said, Eddie lost a debate in Daytona Beach. Well, now we're talking. Organized, complex, and meaningful. Consider this. The DNA in your body, if it were typed out into books, could fill up the Grand Canyon 40 times. You have that much information in your body. You don't think that throwing the Scrabble game would ever produce Eddie lost a debate in Daytona Beach. Why would you think that you were just tossed and shaken, jostled around until it finally wrote out your DNA code? Another example. Here's Newsweek magazine explaining, I think pretty clearly they don't have a handle on evolution. It's always amazing to me. Why do we have all these hairy gorillas in the pictures, in the magazines, and on our kids' classroom walls, when they can't figure out when follicles left and when we started moving from running around naked with a lot of hair to clothing? Nevertheless, what would it take for you to imagine that this Newsweek magazine, which only really has 26 English letters arranged, put it there, how long would it take until it turned into that Holy Bible? You say that's stupid. And I would agree with you, it sure is. Because it doesn't have anybody organizing it or guiding it. The complexity of you proves that there is a creator. It's as simple as that. And there's something inside of you that goes, yeah, it's just that obvious. God made it clear. The heavens declare his handiwork. Day after day, they speak without saying a word. God has provided for you. You want evidence, Eddie? Look outside your window. It is screaming for your attention. It's God's handiwork, and it's complex. And because there is a complex creation, there is a complex creator. Communication is tack number 2 with you tonight. Can we learn anything about the Creator from the creation? I think we can. If we could, for a minute, perhaps agree, maybe if you're an atheist or an agnostic, you need to stretch a little bit, but if we say, okay, there's a creator that created everything, can we learn anything about that creator by looking at his creation? Sure. He's powerful, he's big, he's clever, he's artistic. And also, we could look at our relationship and say, you know what, he communicates too. We're relational, we communicate, we spend time together. It's pretty reasonable to suggest that the attributes of that God are communicative. And I would like to suggest to you that in this book, he has revealed himself. And I would like to take a look inside of here to show you how he has revealed himself. And before you get yourself into a conniption saying, you can't do that, you can't look in the Bible to prove that there is a God. Oh, yes, you can. If I said to you, George Bush, wrong president, George Bush lives in the White House, would it be fair for me to go look into the windows of the White House to see if George is in there? Of course it is. God claims to be in this book. It's fair for me to look inside of here to see if he's actually in here. And that's what I'd like to do with you right now. Because we have got two radically different worldviews tonight. Radically different. Eddie's worldview, to summarize, if he's an atheistic evolutionist, which he clearly is, nothing became something, it blew up and became an organized everything. From my perspective, that seems kind of silly. But I will also grant to you, my creation perspective maybe seems silly too. Something created everything out of nothing. And the problem that both Eddie and I have is that historical science is not reproducible. You can't reproduce what happened 1,000 years ago, 10,000 or 10 billion years ago, if it were that old. You can't do it. Operative science and historical science are two different things. I love operational science. It keeps us healthy. It keeps us progressing as a society. But that's not historical science. You can't go back and test things. So Eddie's got a problem. Nothing became something. It blew up and became everything. And I've got a problem too. Something created everything out of nothing. But here's what I got. I've got teleology. I've got purpose. I've got an explanation. I've got a reason. And Eddie doesn't. And I want to take a look inside this book to answer the question, why we are here.